Throughout my coursework, I have felt that the audience response has helped me massively with the choices and decisions that were made for the creation and process of the free media products. At the beginning of the project, I wanted to gain enough audience responses as possible so that I had enough ideas and reflections on what horror meant to them and how I could create a professional trailer that matched to their requirements. First, I created questionnaires that I could easily send to my other peers via email. This was a good gathering of research because it could be tallied easily, and I had 10 responses within the next few days. The questionnaire consisted of 7 questions that were straightforward and easy for the audience to answer. The questions focused on different areas, such as, do you like horror, and how would you want the protagonist to be represented as? With the questionnaires completed, I tallied the results and I found the results very interesting into what our audience wanted. The results provided a variety of answers and possibilities into what my film would be about and how I could make it appealing to my target audience. But with the results I found a few responses that with the technology I had access to, I couldn't fulfill the requirements for that particular subgenre. For example, one of the responses was to have the film in a haunted house and with the plot of the family haunted by a presence, and I wanted a setting and plot that I could easily do. The reason that I didn't want to do the haunted house was because I had all of these good ideas, but with the amount of props and costumes that I needed, it would have cost too much. But I took the idea of making the film based on true events. I searched different events of murders and unsolved mysteries, but it didn't fit with our audience's responses. The results from the questionnaires were excellent, but I still couldn't work out what to base my film on, so I decided to do another audience feedback. With this, I thought that this would finalise the audience response and I could decide what my film would be. I conducted interviews with 6 members of my target audience. This is because I wanted to talk to them in person so that I could gain a more detailed response from them instead of just ticking a box on a question. With the interviews finished, I again tallied the results and evaluated what the 6 members of my target audience wanted. The results I had collected were very interesting, and I now had a good idea of what my film could be about, and so I thought on basing my film on a book and thinking on also having it on technology and the dangers of it. I thought that this was good because I could easily appeal to my audience because they mainly used technology and they could relate to my protagonist and the characters that were going to be in my film. I watched the interviews over and over again so that I could create a transcript and look at the horror films that were their favourite. I went to the library and found a book called Web of Darkness by Badi Rai, and I thought that this was perfect because it linked with technology and the dangers of social networks. The feedback from my target audience was very good as it helped me to figure out what my film would be about and how I could appeal it to them. When talking about audience feedback in the construction of my trailer, I felt that it has helped improve my product massively in terms of what worked and what did not. With my trailer, there were many prototypes and rough designs for my product that I had to make sure would fit my audience's requirements. I presented my trailer to my focus group and they had some concerns and suggestions on my trailer and how I could improve my product. How the audience feedback benefited me was that I would make different corrections and adjustments based on what my focus group responded to, and when looking at my trailer's progression, it clearly shows this. One of the corrections that was made was the concern of the use of the music box in the scene when the antagonist stalks Lily's bedroom. The group quoted that I represented Lily as being a child and not a teenager. They even said that they would usually see this type of scene within the supernatural genre rather than a thriller, and so I decided to cut it out and it looked better. The reason why I also chose to cut this out was because it would work well and it would lead a silent music to create suspension on what would happen to the protagonist. This response was good because my target audience had knowledge of the genre, and so they knew what would work and appeal to them. The second concern that they also had was that there was not enough conveying of violence in terms of minor conflict or the signifier of it. For example, they said about using tools or harmful props to visually explain it. When reflecting on this idea, I decided to add a weapon at the mid-end of the trailer to connotate violence. This helped to improve my trailer because it conveyed and expressed my antagonist's personality and his perspective of tormenting the protagonist. Another reason why I chose to include this sequence in the mid-end of my trailer is because typically at the end, you usually have fast cut action sequences that anticipate the audience into what would come in the film, but not to give it all away. This is what I wanted to convey at the middle of my trailer, and so that I could grip my audience into wondering what would come next and giving them questions of what would happen to the main characters. The third concern that the group raised was that some of the sequences were a bit too long and didn't seem necessary. This was mostly aimed at the scene with Lily talking to her new friend. What my audience were concerned about this scene was that it seemed too long and there wasn't enough focus on the online relationship between the antagonist and the protagonist. With this feedback, I decided to crop the scene of Lily and her friend to when they are walking from behind the hedge. The reason for this was because it reveals the antagonist's jealousy, as the focal point was not about Lily and her friend, but more of Lily and Benedict, and I wanted it to explore his jealousy more. Another change I also made in conveying more of Benedict and Lily's relationship was to add a section in the mid-beginning of the trailer when Lily looks at her computer. I placed a sequence where she looks at her screen and the audience see her and Benedict's relationship online. I felt that not only did it help convey the characters and their relationships, but also the focus of the story that sets up the whole narrative in the first place. Audience feedback helped me immensely in the choices and decisions that I made and thought in order to make my product appeal to my audience based on what they wanted in the product and what would work and appeal to them more. And to also make it appeal to my target audience and focal group based on their expectations and anticipations for the type of genre that I have used in my film. With my free media products of the poster, website and trailer finished and made, I decided to do another couple of audience interviews and questioned their responses to the product and if they were appealed to them.
Yeah, it all shows. It shows why the movie is good, why it's a good horror film.
Staring down at the protagonist.
The poster is very eye-catching, so it immediately draws the attention towards the audience.
It tells the genre well, actually.
Definitely like the content you've used. You've used a variety of it.
It's very all structured and laid out properly.
I think it looks really professional.
It keeps the theme, it's got the same fonts and everything.
They're pretty good at following conventions, I think. The way that the characters are shown.
The fact it's called Web of Ducks as well makes it seem more like a horror.
But that sense of mystery and suspense, you don't know what's going to happen next.
You know, like these pictures, whatnot, dark colours.
The protagonist is shown to be vulnerable. The antagonist is shown particularly with the red eye.
The antagonist is, you can definitely tell the difference because he's completely dark and he's overlooking the protagonist.
We got the protagonist on the front and shows that she's all innocent, whereas
Rebecca's looking all concerned.
It's got good pacing, good soundtrack. The way it's edited is very good.
I thought the idea of the story as well was quite good.
We used a good amount of varying camera angles and like different effects.
With the website is because it's sometimes it's a bit bright.
The picture on the phone, I don't really know what that's not really showing anything for me.
on the trailer that there could be some more dialogue that could be used.
No, not really, actually.
Maybe with the trailer, sometimes use more darker music.
No, not really, just the poster, just a few little details, I think, fine.
Possibly just the trailer, just more dialogue, really.
I quite like them, actually. Yeah, I've got nothing to complain.
The feedback that I got was good, and in my opinion, I was very pleased with it. Because with the different interviews with my target audience, I found that they all liked the products and that I was able to create a product that was suited to their versions of horror and one that they could easily relate to, i.e. teenage characters and the use of technology, social networking. Through my feedback, I felt that it has helped me to shape a product that was targeted very well at the teenage/young adult audience, with the use of the different elements and conventions of the media products to help with that. Through the first stage of asking the audience with questionnaires what they wanted and what appealed to them in a horror movie, which would form a rough area of what I could come up with, to the second stage of video interviews to gain more of an in-depth response from individuals, which would help finalise my film and the sub-products, to the third stage of the audience response, in which I would ask their opinions and feedback on the 3 final products and to ask them if they liked it and if they were appealed by the products. The audience feedback has helped to guide me and my process in the final products, in which they all fitted in some way with my audience feedback, even though I had to push aside some ideas due to requirements of the amount of props and the limited use of technology. I came out with really good products that appealed to my audience.